Hello and welcome back to the Galactic HoloNet with a new video. I know. I'm not procrastinating anymore, I know. But in all seriousness, holiday seasons and everything, spend time with family and all that. Been busy. But on to the video itself, which is a new series that I'm doing, which I've talked about a little bit on streams, called Battlefront Ideas, where I go over ideas where either me or a comment I've seen or a friend of mine has come up with something really good, and even if it doesn't seem like it's plausible to be in Battlefront, we're I'll talk about it. I'll make a video on it and try to rationalize it, make it as plausible as I can, and it'll just be a fun way to kind of talk about Battlefront, but not talk about what's already coming because that's what everyone else talks about. So let's talk about some what ifs for Battlefront. The first topic for Battlefront ideas is special species on planets in Galactic Assault or potentially modes in the future. Now, to get the basics out of the way, all of them would have around 50 to 100 health. All will have their own unique weapons and skill sets. And I'd like to say probably only two, maybe one allowed per stage. Max three though. Not a lot. But starting off with each species in particular, we will start with the easiest one, the Ewoks. Now, they're fairly simple since they're already done, they're already in the game. You would have to alter them a little bit, like maybe shorten the Wisties' time and lengthen their cooldown, because I see that being the big issue, because with those you could really lock down points. Just sit there, throw a Wisty on top of a missile launcher on Endor, and, well, they gotta wait to get on that, otherwise they're just gonna take a bunch of damage. Their sense would already be fairly good. You'd probably want to shorten that, but it would be really good for just tracking in Galactic Assault because it's such a big area. And I mean, how cool would it be to just have an Ewok tracker in a squad of rebel soldiers, only to set up an ambush? It would be kind of game changing for Galactic. And lastly, if you tweak the horn to maybe give a smaller buff but to everyone around the Ewok, I think that would also double down on that tracker hunter kind of dynamic that the Ewok would have in Galactic, and they should that would be a really good thing to double down on with the Ewoks in Endor because of just how the area is set up. And now with the species that I'm sure everyone wants, Gungans on Naboo. They would immediately have their pike and their shield from episode 1. Their shield, I would say, would definitely have a limit. You can only shoot at it so much before the energy just dissipates, and you gotta wait for it to recharge. That would make them very hit and run characters. And now for the last real serious thing I put on for the Gungans, and that is EMP bombs. They're blue EMP bombs. I can't think of what they're called right now. I'm sure you guys will correct me. I feel like they would be really good against the tanks. Really great against droids. Not a one-hit kill on tanks, but I feel like it should do quite a bit of damage. And now for the silly part of the Gungans. You can't really help it. I mean, they're Gungans. I would say they have a tongue trip knockdown, where their tongue would come out of their mouth really fast, much like Jar Jar when he grabbed for the fruit bowl in episode 1, and they just trip over an enemy. It'll just be one enemy, and they just get tripped over. You can run up to them, do whatever, but it doesn't kill them. It'll do very little damage, like maybe 50 to 25 damage, but obviously that move is just mostly there for comedic purposes. And for the last ability I would really give them would be another small damage buff, and you can call it something like bombad damage or something like that, and then they'll just say some crazy Gungan stuff and just be able to go out and do a little more work, I guess. They're mostly there for joke characters because I don't personally expect anyone to actually use them, but if you do, no, but in all seriousness, I think that would be really cool. Uh, Definitely would change up how things play because then there would be more lane play with the shields. On to the next one. Both of the next two species that we will be covering are on Tatooine. One being the Jawas and the others being the Tusken Raiders. But we're just gonna stick to the Jawas. Okay, starting with the main weapon of the Jawa, it would be a shocker stun gun, much like we saw used on R2-D2 in Episode 4. But I'd say it'd have maybe one or two good shots, but have a sort of long reload period, but it has a shock spread that deals some damage, but mostly stuns for a good while. Now for their first ability would be called the Restrainer. Like, pretty much be a restraining bolt, but you could use it on people. It would only stun one person, but the offside of that is it would be a more powerful stun than the gun. But as I said, only one person is the trade-off. Now, for their second ability, it'll be much like a change weapon ability, like the Flash Pistol or the Stinger Pistol, but it would be a Battlefront 2 classic of the Fusion Cutter. We can get that back, and that would allow the repairing of vehicles and turrets if close enough to use, obviously. And that would obviously really change the game, because then it would be back to tanks feeling more like they could push, at least in that map. And now for their last ability, I titled Sneaky Traders, which is a buff that hides the Jawas and those in a small radius around it from sight on the radar, so they could sneak around the map, keeping them sort of as an annoying support type. That's sort of the archetype I'm going for them. I want them to be annoying, but also still sort of helpful. And now for the second to last on our list here, the Tusken Raiders. Their main gun would be like the cycler rifle, or like the main gun scene in Episode 1 during the pod race and in other Star Wars media. This gun would definitely be used as a sniper to keep them far back if you want to stay at a distance with your Tusken Raider. But you will also have other options, and we'll get to that with his abilities. Now, the first ability will be kind of like the Ewok's ability to see footprints in the forest, but more of like vague trails in the sand left by the enemy team, be that whichever team you're on. I'll get the teams at the end of the video. But essentially this move will just be for tracking, so you could find potential prey. Now the next one, I'm not 100% sure where I side with this because I have two different variations on this. The second ability could either be a great potential debuff towards speed, or a quick health regen buff for itself. And the animation would be the yell and the waving the stick above his head that we, know the Tusken Raiders for oh so well. And now for the last ability for the Tusken Raider, it would be much in the vein of Rey's Rush or Obi-Wan's defensive rush, but more of so then they can knock down enemies or just get a quick escape. Not meant to kill unless someone's already at low health. Keep these guys mostly support. But now for the last one, and the one I was absolutely most excited to talk about, with Geonosis just dropping, and that being the Geonosian soldiers. So first off, this is just a unique thing for the Geonosians themselves. I want them to fly, but not feel like Boba Fett or any of the jetpacks that are already in the game. As it is, a bodily function for them. It's like a bug or a bird. so I wanted to feel more natural. And now their main weapon, everyone already knows what that would be, and that'd be the Geonosian Sonic Blaster that they've got. Being close to medium range, as the wave for it likes to dissipate after a while. It's got about a good 15 meters minimum range to 40 max. Now for their second ability, this would be a movement speed decrease debuff. Kinda like Palpatine's aura, but not as detrimental to players. As to make Geonosians seem faster and to kind of add a new shift to how you deal with certain things, like dealing with flying enemies that can slow you down. Now, this next ability I really had fun thinking about, and that is they would drop down, swoop in, and grab a person off the ground and fly off, and it'd be an instant kill to a trooper at low health. And the low health targets will be marked by a little Geonosian head above a clone. But to offset this being a instant kill for lower health guys, we will have it be that the animation leaves you vulnerable as you go down from the ground, because you will need to start in the air to do the ability, thus making it very easy for you to get gunned down and killed when you swoop down. If you do it fast enough, you can save your trooper. Now I'm gonna wrap it all up by saying, the Tatooine special species that I have planned would be usable by both teams. They're the only ones in this list that doesn't have a set team. Whereas, obviously, Ewoks go to the Rebels, Gungans go to the Republic, and Geonosians go to the Separatists. But the Tatooine ones I wanted to leave open because that's kind of how it was in Battlefront 2. Jawas didn't really have a side. They kind of just went wherever, and I wanted to have the Tusken Raiders reflect that too, because they don't like anybody. But overall, this wasn't meant to be super serious, but mostly just to get people thinking. Like, what could they add? Even if it's ridiculous. Don't let that stop you. Because, for me, I had a lot of people putting me down for wanting Anakin in the game, saying that we already have Darth Vader. Well, I'm not so crazy now, am I? But I would love to hear what you guys think about this. If you have different species that you think should be added into the game, even if it's not on a planet that is already in the game, let me know. I want to know. And you know what? I might do another Battlefront ideas on the special species that are on planets that haven't been added yet. Much like the Quarrens and the Mon Cala, if we ever got Mon Calamari as a planet in the game, which would be sick. Let's get some underwater combat going. But I'm starting to ramble now, and this video is already way over 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna end it there. Hope you guys really enjoyed. Let's talk about this, and you know what? Leave your suggestions for more Battlefront ideas in the comments, because I'm gonna be brainstorming, and you guys, brainstorm with me. And I'll see you either on the next stream or next video.